button that says start recording, and we'll swap around between Ali and I to try to get you to have the best info out of this time you're sharing with us. So start recording, please, Ali.
All done.
So what you're seeing on screen here, I hope, is another excellent mail template, campaign, newsletter, 3 phrases or words for the same thing, that you as PADI members have exclusive access to send out to your customers. Biggest barrier we all face in this industry, obviously, is taking someone's interest in diving and turning it into a revenue generating training program, i.e. open water and thereafter. So if you could take, whether you measure it perfectly or not, but you take in your mind everyone that you have ever taught DSD to, whether you as an individual instructor or the store where you're currently sitting at, and imagine that, well, let's be generous, 100% of those folks did open water, and then you think of all the con ed that would lead from that, all the equipment sales, all the trip and vacation sales. Life would be, however sweet it is now, probably considerably sweeter. So anything we can do to help on that can only drive a business forward. It's the key program for conversion is DSD to open water. Taking someone who said, yes, I'm interested in diving, that's why I want to discover something about it, and turning it into an open water diver, someone who feels trained and confident and comfortable underwater and will therefore continue doing it. And one of the things that's important about that is having an automated system that will guarantee that those divers who do the DSD program will get the information and be pointed towards further information, pointed towards online booking, etc., that you want them to have and you can guarantee they have on the day, on the evening, on the day after, whichever is appropriate for you, when they did that DSD program. So these templates have been written here for use with MailChimp, which will up your delivery percentage compared to your local Outlook system and will guarantee the quality of the image and the content, and you'll have reports on who's opening them and so and so. So these are designed to work with Eve and with MailChimp and with all your efforts teaching DSD so that you can drive that message out to DSD divers. The template you're looking at right here is on PADIislands.com. So this template you're looking at here with the images, big calls to action of book online now, find out more information. As you'll see, there are merge fields in here that will pick up your company information. You'll also see that should you be using any of these social media utilities and the information that you have on there related to open water, that the customer will also be driven towards that. The information here is screaming at someone, you did DSD today or yesterday, book online now. Turn that interest and turn the fun you had last night, yesterday afternoon, whenever it was, into being an active open water diver. And they're available for you here, and you will see if we go back to the home page of eve.padi-islands.com that it's sitting right here on the home page, but you'll also find it under things such as entry-level diver, open water diver, if you use some of these menus. It also should be pretty easily flagged up for you, these new ones here, because you'll see a lovely little word that says new, and we'll be looking at, in fact, a couple of the others of these today at the same time. Now, when you go to PADI-islands.com, the address you can see in the bar there, when you click on that template, you will then see that template will appear in a cut down form bang on the screen, and there's a key thing for you to look at here, which is this area on screen here that says A, log into your MailChimp account, and B, click this link. Logging into your MailChimp account will then mean that when you do click that link, that template, and I'll click it right now, that template campaign newsletter will go straight into your MailChimp account. You can see it's gone in right there, right now. We have a template straight away. Haven't had to import anything, haven't had to write information, haven't had to upload images. I've got straight away that template in a MailChimp account with which I can now do things that will allow me to slightly customize and edit to get some store personality and turn into a campaign we're going to use with the Eve agent to make sure we grab those DSD divers at the first opportunity to turn them into open water divers. So at this point, I'm going to switch over to Ali, who is going to guide you through how you can edit, adjust, modify, etc. those templates that have been brought into MailChimp. So with a bit of luck, once I find the appropriate part of this screen, I will be able to change presenter, and Ali will now be showing her screen to you. Over to you, Ali.
Hello everyone. Ian, could you confirm that you can see my screen, please?
Not yet.
Oh.
Now I can.
With Eve template library.
Yep. Yes.
Brilliant. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I will just minimize. Right, so as we were as Ian was saying, we're going to see together how to edit the templates on MailChimp. For those that are not familiar with MailChimp yet, MailChimp is a free service that allows you to send up to 12,000 emails before getting a paid service. And also one of the promises is that none of these emails will end up in one of these spam box. It will be delivered to your customers. So that's one of the promises, which so far has proved itself right. It has also very good statistic to consult for each of the campaign that you set. So you'll be able to see who has opened your emails, who hasn't, and have all, like you can see here, just all your percentage. Very well. So to edit those templates, once you have downloaded it from the evepadiislands.com website, I will take the Dive into Sun as an example. I will click it and it will send me right back to my account. Just make sure that you all signed in, and it appears just right here. Now, to edit it, I just have to click on, funnily enough, edit. And I will be now into my drag and drop edit screen. If you don't like our design, please feel free to replace it. Very simple, just right here. You'll be able to upload a picture of your choice. Just remember that you want the right dimension, 600 by 366. And you also want to make sure that the quality is high enough. You can change as well the headline of your template, just right here. Obviously, this will be displayed as well as a little preview of your newsletter, so you want to make sure it is catchy. You probably want to have a call to action into it as well to make sure to grab that diver. And obviously, you can change all the style, font, colors, and so on and so on and so on. This is a pretty generic text that we created for you. Obviously, we try to make it catchy, we try to put some call to actions into it, but it's obviously up to you to change it, depending on your dive centers and what vibe you want on, who you target. I'm always a very big advocate. I was having different campaigns running simultaneously, depending on who you're targeting. Obviously, we're not able to talk to the same way to if we target maybe a younger demographic or a family or maybe older divers. Make sure that you run simultaneously your newsletter for the best effect. And right here, you're going to be able to not only just have this pretty book now in blue, you're going to be able to link it to your web address. So obviously for now, just put www.padi.com, but I'll make sure to tell you that you need a good landing page linking to this newsletter. What I mean by landing page is a page that is on your website that is correspond to the newsletter you're sending. So this one is quite general, so you could be just sending it maybe on your homepage, but really the best way possible to do it would be to have a sort of summary page on your website with the offer that you're putting out, or what corresponds to that newsletter. And that's what's really important. If you want more information on landing page, feel free to send me an email at Ally, ALLY.toulec, TOULLEC @padi.com. And I'll send you a few things. And obviously, you can open it in a new window. That's very, very important. And put some title attribute and so on if you want to be a bit more technical. Same thing with the other button. It's just as simple. Putting the web address as well. And of course, all the social media right here. You have also a wide selection of a module that you could add into your template, maybe some image recursion, some coding for those that are a bit more familiar with HTML, that have done some website, and you want to put some module or some widget that you're already familiar with. You can insert it right here. You can have a little gallery going on, and a box text if just like general text does not suit you, and obviously even video, which is a medium that works really well for newsletter and that video, because you're going to get them to watch it straight on the newsletter. They're already involved, and with the right call to action next to it, it's upping the chances to create an engagement through this newsletter. Once you have made your changes, you can preview and test your newsletter right at the corner, top right corner right here. So if I enter the preview mode, I can see it as well how it's going to be seen on mobile. But we know now how important it is to have both website, newsletter, and any media that we use for our Dive Center to be very easy to be seen on mobile. It's so important. Google is now concentrating a lot on mobile development and how the websites and all internet things shows on tablets and mobile. So just keep that in mind. So very simple right here, and you can see how it looks. Once it's finished, you can send yourself a test email just to make sure that it appears exactly the way you want it. If I can send it right there. And then you'll make sure that everything, if you want to have someone reread over it, very simple, save and exit. Now you have done all your changes. You probably want to put it into your summer campaign, so you can click on campaign just right at the top. If internet, there we go. And then you can create your brand new campaign. Bear in mind that you would have created the list with all your customers on it as well, so it matches your campaign. So maybe people that have done the Discover Scuba Diving with you, or the open water, so on and so on and so on. And the campaign is very simple. I can send to an entire list, to a group list of all your customers that where you have. And if you see at the top corner, my template just arrived right here. New segment that I did. If you have a lot of contacts, it's easier to see. Send your entire list. I'm going to be able to name my campaign, to put an email subject. Again, you want to make sure that it is short. There is a call to action. And apparently now emojis are a very important thing into younger generation, so you can shorten and grab the attention by placing some emojis into your email subject. It will give you some trackings, some free trackings given from MailChimp. And if you connect your account to some of your social medias, it will automatically tweet and Facebook about this campaign. So it's an added bonus right there. I will click on next. And obviously, oh, I have to change it. Yeah. Nope, it doesn't let me. I will have to put a subject in. And if the next step will be to change my template, and to find the template that I just changed, I can go into Save Templates. And right here, I have my Dive into Summer, which I can then select. And I can even read it. And if I didn't like what I've done, and I realize, actually, I want to put some merge tag into it, merge tag are coding corresponding to MailChimp that will allow MailChimp to bring out some of the information from your profile. So, for example, instead of saying ABCD diving, we've just got one merge tag, which Ian will show you at the end of my little presentation. It could be saying automatically your dive center name. Once you've made these changes, you're ready to go. Obviously, I'm not going to confirm it because I do not intend to send this newsletter to my list of contacts. I know if you dive center, they'll be a bit surprised of me sending them something about summer is coming and go diving. But for now, this is it for me. If you have any question, please feel free to ask either now or feel free to email me anytime.
Thank you, Ali. I'm going to see if this works, and I can take, in theory, that. Could you please hit the change presenter and give the screen back to me?
I am trying indeed. There we go. Change presenter. I am making a presenter. Over to you.
Right, and if you'd be kind enough, just to let me know that you are now seeing that MailChimp area.
I am seeing it indeed.
Lovely, thank you. Now what you'll see here, folks, and thank you very much for that, Ali, I hope that's clear to everyone on how to do those. Move the templates from the PADI Island site into your MailChimp account, create a template, and then use that template to create a campaign. You will see here that I have got some templates I've done previously, and I'm just going to, as Ali did that so well, just move straight to the campaigns part here on MailChimp, and you will see this one here called DSD to Open Water One Day After DSD. What a catchy title. Remember, that title, if you like, is only a title that is for our use, the name of the campaign, for your own use, to remind you, if you like, of what it is you are trying to do with this thing. The actual subject line that your customers will receive is there. So you can call the name of the campaign anything that makes sense to you. So on this one, you will see here, if I pop straight to the design part of this, which will load the campaign as I previously prepared it, you will see that, as Ali mentioned, I used that initial template and I put in some merge fields and some other information. Merge fields such as this one here, this bizarrely, I suppose, named star line F name line star. Don't worry about where those come from, because I'll show you in Eve Agent where they come from. All you need to know is they are what they are, if you like, except what can seem odd functionality and odd spelling and odd punctuation up there. They work, they're what MailChimp requires, and when Eve sends the information, as you can probably guess in that case, of someone's first name, it will populate that area with first name. I also edited some of these. You'll see here, for example, that the web address placed in there for Book Online Now was, as Ali mentioned, one of those that goes directly to where I want someone to go, so they can fulfill that call to action that I've said there, Book Online Now. So they were sent straight to that URL, and on that URL, bang, buy now. The dates on the parameters I've set. This is an Eve website. We have all the usual things here that you expect from Eve websites. This information is being pulled straight from your Eve database. The pricing is pulled straight from your Eve database. The buy now goes straight to your online store. The related products that you will see elsewhere, these are all coming straight from your Eve database. And that allows us then to go to buy now, and the only question we're now asked is, how many others do we want to come with us on this course? My friends, my family, etc. Payment details, move on, a sale that goes back into your Eve database. And that came from knowing the exact landing page where I wanted that URL highlighted up there, where I wanted someone to go when I did, or when they did, follow exactly what we've asked them to do, which is to click that big button there of Book Online Now. Simple stuff that allows us to make sure that we're doing what we say for customers, and to make it a simple customer journey for them to see the information, click a button, book online with the exact dates, the exact information, know everything they need to do, and of course, as most of you will know, because that sale has gone straight into Eve, because it's gone to an Eve website and an Eve online store, then have the Eve agent following up further with, great, you've booked on, and then in a few days time, do you need your mask, fin, snorkel? A few days line, give us your sizes, and so on and so on. So I have this campaign set up right here. Now I'm just going to save and exit and go back to those campaigns, and now I have this campaign which I've edited from that template. I can now do a very important thing, which is to look at my Eve and my Eve agent and make sure that I have what we need to be happening. Now, by that I mean the following things. First of all, obviously, within Eve, you need to be tracking and making sure that you are registering people as DSD divers. Now, remember, you can do that in several ways. The first background thing to do is to make sure that in your data module on course types, so data course types, and we look for Discover Scuba Diving, and to make sure when you go to there that this information is correct. The PIC type should be DSD. It should be uploadable to PIC, the Online Processing Center. And when you click that button that says Search PADI for PIC keys, that you do choose Discover Scuba Diving. Doesn't matter that it's 58. Who knows, or quite frankly, who cares what number it is, as long as 58 is what the PADI servers recognize as that being someone who's done DSD. So your Discover Scuba Diving course type needs to be set up as so. Then, whether you're registering people through a course that you're booking them onto a DSD program and then registering them, or whether you are doing it via certifications new, that whichever way you're doing it, through the course ideally, so that you can track booking and progress and so, or just doing it through certifications new, that the result is that you are registering those certifications so that a temporary card is issued, so that they're registered with PADI, so that a diver number is assigned and so on, but principally and most importantly that the result is that if we were to go, say, to certifications find, and I'm just going to look again for Discover Scuba Diving divers here, that we end up, that we know in this case, this is a huge test database as you can see, which is why I've got down here, over a huge period of time there's been 8 and something thousand DSD divers, but we get the record of a customer name, you can see we have an email address, that we know when they did it, which instructor, certain, etc. Now, with all of that information in there, and in Eve, so you're tracking the progress of your divers through any program, obviously here we're looking at DSD principally, that now means that if I go to that agent, let's look at this job that I've set up here. A job within the Eve agent. Remember, you can access the Eve agent by going to Tools, Eve Agent from the top menu within Eve. If we look at this job here, so I'm just going to click on this job. first thing I've done on this general tab is to say that the campaign I'm going to want to send. So I've selected MailChimp, and then by hitting that lookup bar, I would get a list of all the campaigns I have set up in MailChimp. And as you know, just returning to that, one of those is this DSD to open water. So I select that. Then I go to the schedule, and I've said in this case every day at a particular time. Now, whether it goes out the next morning or that evening, of when someone does the DSD or 2 days later, these are your decisions. But bear in mind that the decision you make about when it goes out should also have an impact on when it goes out. So here on the data source, where I've said a message is going to go out 0 days after, that's today. Silly computer phrase, I understand, but the next time someone says to you today, what they're saying is 0 days after. That's all it means in computer speak terms, today. 0 days after a certification date. So I would do something sensible here and say, right, the last time I might certify someone, get whatever on DSD, would be just before we close, say at 7 p.m. And that will mean that if that message goes out then, I'm not going to miss anyone on that day. If, by contrast, I wanted this perhaps to go out 1 day after, so that's clearly tomorrow, if you like, the day after someone's done a DSD, I might want to have that hit their inbox first thing in the morning, and depending on what you think first thing in the morning is, come back to there. So just have a little bit of a think about what's going to work best for you. I, with DSD, wouldn't like getting out a message that evening saying, brilliant, superb, come along, book here now, while someone is really excited, really happy, and perhaps might even share the email and share the links on the email with their friends. So I'm saying here 7 o'clock in the evening, and I'm going to say 0 days after. As I mentioned, that's today. 0 days after the certification date. So the day that they are registered as a DSD diver, the day they did their DSD. You will see these other bits of information down here. And this relates to the fact that these are merge fields that we could use if we wanted to. We don't have to, but that we could use if we wanted to in our campaign. How we spell the merge fields I'll look at in a little while. So all I've done here is say certifications 0 days after a certification date. Now at the moment I haven't narrowed down to DSD. I'll show you how to do that. We go to filters and we say the course type is going to be equal to and equal to what? And that course type is going to be equal to Discover Scuba Diving. So I select course type, say it is definitely equal to Discover Scuba Diving. That means that now this job is only going to find people where the course type is Discover Scuba Diving, and it is on the day of their certification. And when it finds them, it's going to do something. And what it's going to do, as we'll see, will be to send that campaign. Advanced tab for a moment, just a moment, to have a look. Remember I mentioned that we could say in our campaign that you have done Discover Scuba. Most people will know that, and it doesn't really matter that we have to pick that up as a merge field because we can just write that in. But all these that we've selected here are available and showing you if you wanted to use them. So where we saw in that campaign that we had open, that we had that strange star line, F name line star, the Eve will tell you that is what you need to write in that when you edit the campaign, when you're taking that template and you're making it into your campaign, that's what you need to write so that that will be populated with someone's first name. Simple as, and you can see that those will change. I cannot imagine why we might want to do it, but if you did also want to say, oh, by the way, you're also 33 or 26 or whatever, you'll see that having selected age, that has now popped age, and that's how we'd use it. a more reasonable one would be, many stores, you guys use known as someone's first name, if you like, because someone might have their official name, Edward, but prefer to be called Teddy or Ted. So if you're using known as how you greet someone, select known as on this data source screen, and you'll see how known as can go into the campaign within MailChimp. You do not have to unselect those you're not going to use. You can select everything here and it doesn't make any difference. It's only those that you actually write in the campaign where data will be picked up. Now, one of the things to do once you've set up a job like this and you said, okay, it's going out, I'm going to look for things every day, and at 7 o'clock it's going to send that campaign, and it's going to send that campaign to everyone who's done a certification that day, and when that certification was, well, in this case a registration, but same thing, on Discover Scuba Diving, and that's how I write my merge fields. One of the things to always just have a little do is, oh dear, and because I've been mucking around so much with all of this gibberish, is to just hit test and you'll get up a list of all of those people who can or will meet those criteria. So if I go back to Eve for a second, you'll see when I do all of these, the certification date, according to my watch anyway of today, is the 27th of May. So when we go back to the agent and we wanted to test a job, then one of the things that we can do is hit that test and bang, we find those 4 people, which we know is right, if you like, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So those 4 people will receive the email, will receive that campaign from MailChimp. And you can see it will be sent to their email addresses. It's telling you here it's going to be sent via MailChimp. They're going to get that campaign, all the possible merge fields, so it will fill in information. We here are only really choosing to use that first name one, but it will go out as hi Renee, hi Cheryl, hi Brian, hi Christopher, etc. Just a little note on what this confirmation required false means. I have unchecked this box on requires confirmation, and that's so that I fully automate the agent, because I don't want the agent to pop up at me and say, do you want me to send these emails? Because I'd rather have them go automatically. So I have unchecked that, and that would be what I do on almost all my email jobs. And that is as simple as how you can now make sure that you have a job that goes out every day looking for someone who's certified on DSD. Now, one of the tricks, of course, is to follow up later. By later might mean a week, might mean 2 weeks. So this is where what you've already learned about templates and about campaigns and about the way the agent works can come in very useful. I'm going to save that job. There are a couple of things that are important here. One is, as Ali beautifully explained, once you've got a template, and here is a template, I can easily create another campaign using that same template and perhaps just change the text a little bit to say a few days ago, a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And then it'll still be applicable to send out to those people who did DSD. And you have lots of options. Obviously here you can straight away create another campaign, but just to show you another little trick that you can use with the agent and with MailChimp, one of your possibilities with campaigns, with any campaign, is you can go and duplicate a campaign and then edit it so that you then slightly tweak the wording. And you do exactly the same with the agent. Look at this for a moment. If I highlight this initial job that we know is finding people who did DSD today, and I click that clone button, with that, say, slightly adjusted campaign that I have in MailChimp, so I would choose that adjusted campaign, again, just click up the lookup bar there. But what I would do here is say for this one, I want this new job I'm going to do to go out 7 days or 14 days or 10 days. And that now means with an easily replicated campaign and an easily cloned job within the agent that I now have the possibility of saying, I'm following up with you. So immediately I've got another contact with those customers. That might be the final little thing they need to push them up. Oh, great, super, thanks for sending me that. I was going to sign up, just didn't get round to it. That might be the little push they need. And you can make yourself, if you think through this, you can make yourself a whole pattern of these, not just for DSD, but for any other program as well. An example of what I mean by that is, by any other program, is if I go back to that original job and I have a different campaign that is, say, set for open water to advanced instead of DSD to open water, I'd select that campaign, and now the only thing I need to change here is to say this is when the course type for what they have certified on today would be, if I can read, open water. And now that would mean that with that new campaign saying move from open water to advanced, I have a new job linking to that campaign saying today you did open water, or yesterday, whether I choose 1 day after or 0 days after. And all of that can come from cloning one original job. So you can end up very easily making sure you're in continual, accurate, timely, and most importantly, relevant communication to your divers. Now, we're trying to get a lot in on this webinar, so it may well serve you, benefit you to watch this again, but I want to show you something else as well that you can do for specific days of the year. Coming up soon in the UK is a date best honoured in the breach rather the observance in my family anyway, but is Father's Day. Supposedly, I know that's different days in different parts of the year, but in the UK I believe it's 21st of June. Now, obviously nothing's going to happen in my household, as my daughter won't think about it at all, but in some civilized households, fathers will be given a present. Now, one of those presents you think that would be good for those fathers would be to come along to do a dive course, buy some equipment, etc. So another campaign that has been created for you by Ali and her team at PADI is, if I go all the way back to it, oh dear, probably too far. Let me open up a new browser and you'll see on the PADI Island site is a campaign or an email here that you'll see for Father's Day. It's got new next to it. It'll also be under the general and seasonal tab at the top. Again, once you're logged into MailChimp, you can click that link and that would turn straight into a template within Father's Day here. Sorry, not a template within Father's Day, a Father's Day template, if I can speak, within MailChimp. Now, if you look at this particular template, what I did when I imported this template was then follow some of Ali's advice, and I moved around and I decided I would edit what was on the buy now or see more, and I might say, okay, where do I want to take someone here? And I could have a landing page on my website specifically about Father's Day. You'll also see here, and Ali mentioned that I'd show you this later, that I have put in information here. This is straight from MailChimp of list company. That will bring in your company detail names that you have when you first registered with MailChimp. The one I really want to show you though is this one here of CUST ID, CUST ID, star line, CUST ID line star. That is within the Eve database. That is a unique ID for each and every one of your customers. If I just go to Customers Find and I call up any old customer, here you can see I've just called up Mr. Alton Brennan, you will see that grayed out, i.e. it's not changeable by you, but just so you're aware of it, an ID number there of 16241. That is unique to the customer, created by Eve when the customer is first entered into Eve, created on Eve. And what that means is that I now have a piece of information that will always be tied and can only be tied to that customer. So if we look at what did here in this template here, because we've put in cust ID, call using this code, we know that if we send this to someone, that they can get, now by calling that, we know it's them, we know our campaign has worked, it's another way of measuring our campaign, and we can send that information straight to the customer. It's unique to them, they can use it when they come back to us, and it's unique to them, tracking, discounts, codes, vouchers, etc. Now when it comes to who we're going to send that to, you have various options. One of the things that some dive stores do, and it makes perfect sense to me, is they do make sure they take as much information as possible from a diver. For example, one of the things you can do here with any diver, as you know, and you need this for Pick Online, but some aspects you don't, but you might want to think about it, is record someone's A, gender here, and B, marital status. You can also record whether someone is a mother or a father. And there's a reason for that. I've set up a mailing list here that you'll see called father, and if someone was, I'd put them on it. Likewise, I could set up a mailing list, and it's this easy to do. Data, excuse me, mailing lists, new, mother, save. And I can that way not only use this for what we're about to do with Father's Day messages, but also when you're running children's programs and otherwise, that might well be one of the ways you want to search for your customers. But once we have more information about our customers, it allows us to send out seasonal messages, whether it be Mother's Day and we want to send to mothers, buy yourself a present, or to fathers who are married and say, buy your wife a present, or whether it be Father's Day and we want to send to fathers, buy yourself a present, or we want to send to married mothers and say, buy your husband a present, and so on. We can use that information, and we can use that information in two ways. One is in the customer search wizard, where as long as we are marking people that they are on those mailing lists and they are married, etc., we can do this kind of search. We could simply go and say, if we go to this general tab, show me everyone who is a father. Bang. There we are. And at that point we could select all. We would, for using MailChimp, hit export. We are now going to export to MailChimp. What data do we want to export? These are very similar to your merge fields. We are definitely going to be using first name, and then we would hit the next. We will send them our Father's Day campaign. One important note, when you are using the Customer Search Wizard export functionality, before you send a campaign, because the list here is of unsent campaigns, just replicate that campaign. Done. The agent automatically replicates the campaign. Because this Customer Search Wizard way is for more ad hoc things, just hit that button of replicate campaign, then we'd send customers to MailChimp, then we'd send the campaign. Done. That's one way of doing these kinds of things for these special occasions: Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Thanksgiving Day, etc. We can also, however, use the agent for these kinds of things. I set up an agent job here for Father's Day. And what I did on this job, again, I picked that campaign from MailChimp. I took off requires confirmation, you'll recall that. But I did something slightly different on the schedule. I said a day of the year. And then I found out when that campaign, or sorry, when Father's Day was. Then I took my shoes and socks off and I tried to count up the number of days. And it worked out to be, I think it was 172. But I decided I want this to go out a week beforehand so that people had time to organise that present. So I said it's going out on the 165th day of the year. Now, this bit is important. That bit of secret, because nothing's actually happening with those customers on that day of the year, is it? Other than we're sending them. We don't know that we're changing their details, updating their details. So there isn't a piece of data like a certification that's happening on that day. So this is when we use here on the Data Source tab, a thing called Advanced SQL. And on that Advanced tab, you will see that piece of information. I'm going to stay there a little while so those of you who record it, or when you watch the recording, will be able to see that, or on the recording you might want to pause here. That piece of information is applicable to find anyone on any particular mailing list. That particular mailing list being, in this case, a Father's Day mailing list. I'm sure you can read this 1084. Now, just for a moment, let me return to Weave, go to mailing lists, and if I call this the Father's Day mailing list, something like that, there we are. You will see there 1084. Let us imagine, though, I wanted to find a mailing list appropriate for Mother's Day or vice versa. I would see 1085. And the only thing I'd need to do here, when I cloned a job or changed a job, would be to make that 1085. Simple as that. Leaving it, though, in this case, at 4. Now, also, you will be delighted to know that that isn't something that I've had to generate through my vast and extensive knowledge of SQL. You guys can come up with that. And the reason you can come up with that, remember, if you're not sure about these things, drop us a line, rewatch, is if I go back to the customer search wizard and I will just select, as I did earlier, those people on that Father's Day list I had, because I'd kept adding them as they came in to my mailing lists, is if I click this button here, the hammer and spanner button, here on the customer search wizard, you will see a little link called Auto Email Agent SQL. Pick any one of these things here, and I mean any one. You will then find you can, in these cases, always ignore that bit because that was the last little thing I picked. But this part here, that's the SQL you need to create that job. This whole SQL is the start point, as it does say here, but that is what I actually ended up using. This is something for you to do in your training database. It's one of the reasons you have a training database, and see what you can do. You can also, of course, ask us. You can also watch these webinar recordings again, but that also, getting that allowed me to set up this Father's Day job, which resulted in 617 people being emailed that campaign that says, give him a Father's Day gift. And that is exactly the same number of people as we found in the customer search wizard, as you see there. So you've got both ways of doing that. In either way, you are giving an opportunity to your divers and their families to get a very different perhaps not unique, but a very different present than usual on things like Father's Day, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, whatever day of the year it is, Easter, Labor Day, Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, August Bank Holiday, national days around Europe, and so and so. Use that functionality to allow yourself to think your way through ways of contacting your divers that they will not be contacted with by anyone else who's giving them something as quality and beautiful as a diving experience or a diving trip or a diving course. They're not getting that offer anywhere else. You will only increase your sales, you will only increase your customer retention, and if you think about these Mother's Day and Father's Day and other holiday ones, you're widening your possibilities of contacting other members of family as well. And all of that simply comes from putting together all the effort you do of dealing with customers, contacting customers, but using these functions of Eve, of the customer search wizard, of mailing lists, of the Eve agent, and all the efforts of people like Ali at PADI in creating these templates, using these together to really target the right customer at the right time with the right message, and you will only see retention of customers go up, Con Ed go up, and spend per customer go up. Now, Ali and I, principally me obviously, have taken up far too much of your time. Please do follow up with questions that you have to either Ali at ali.tulek@padi.com. That's ALLY.tulek, which is TOULLEC @padi.com, or to me at info@isis.co.uk. We will also, because we know who's been attending, drop you a line and follow up with this. Thank you hugely for your time, everyone. Thank you for being an Eve user, being a PADI member. Please use this functionality. Delighted to take this further with you offline, and we will see you on next month's webinar to look at all the new features in the latest version of Eve, Eve 5.9.2. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you very much.